Many question the safety and effectiveness of the COVID vaccines. One parent learned long ago that some vaccines in general can have risky side effects. For more, we turn to Tracy Slepcevic, author of Warrior Mom and a U.S. Air Force veteran. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you for your service.
Thank you, Natasha. Thanks for having me.
So now it's so interesting. Many of us have been on heightened alert about these COVID vaccines. Did your son initially develop autism as a side effect to a vaccine? Walk us through how it all happened.
I always say you can have a predisposition for anything. It's going to take an environmental factor to trigger it. Do I feel that vaccines triggered my son's autism? Absolutely, I do. He went in for his 1 year well baby checkup and he was functioning normally. He had his baby words, he was walking and talking on time, he met all his milestones.
Mhm.
Within 24 hours, he had a fever, he broke out in a full body rash, and his fever lasted about 5 days. Now, as I would call my pediatrician, panicking, I constantly got this is a normal reaction. Everything's so normal. So within the next few months following, I saw a drastic decline in his motor skills. He lost all of his speech and some of his cognitive ability. It was like my son went into a bubble and he wasn't there anymore. So, yes, I do feel that vaccines triggered my son's autism. And it's the story of thousands of parents, so
Mhm.
many that I've spoke to over the years.
But it's pretty impressive to hear your son has been, healed of autism when it's something that affects so many people in the U.S. So what success did you find in treatment?
So, diet is number one. You are what you eat, and there is a gut brain connection. So, a lot of times when you are eating inflammatory foods like gluten, dairy, soy, sugars, and refined sugars and carbohydrates, then those can cause a lot of inflammation in the body and also in the brain. And my son was full of yeast from all of his antibiotics that he had gotten from ear infections because vaccines did tank his immune system. So he started to get sick more often every month at the pediatrician with ear infections. So we had a lot of yeast that we had to get rid of in his body. So once we started doing the diet and time went on, he started putting one and two words together. We implemented some other treatments. We implemented supplements and hyperbaric oxygen therapy. And down the road, we did some other non-traditional therapies like stem cell therapy and some different IVs and everything. He showed progress with everything that we did. Now, unfortunately, not all of these kids are able to have the same reaction as Noah.
Mhm.
So, unfortunately, they don't all respond the same way, but a good number of them really do.
Yeah, it sounds very promising for at least in your son's case. That's wonderful. And now the push for the coronavirus vaccines continues to rise. So do you see this possibly increasing the rate of autism in this country?
Absolutely. Experts are saying that in the next decade, you're looking at autism, the autism rate being 1 in 2 children will have autism. So 50% of the, children will have autism. And I believe now that the CDC has come out with adding it to the childhood vaccine schedule,
Hmm.
it is only going to get worse. And it's really sad.
Yeah, and I know a lot of parents are certainly concerned with that. And do you think there's a way to create vaccines? I mean, I'm talking real ones here now that actually work in a cleaner manner without all the additives, because that seems like it's part of the problem, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, they can create vaccines that work. I'm not anti-vax. I'm definitely pro-health. But the thing is they don't do testing for these vaccines. There's no proper testing. The COVID vaccine definitely didn't get the proper testing. We're all guinea pigs if anybody has received the COVID vaccine. But the vaccines are one thing that can do it, but herd immunity should be an important factor as well. Right now, herd immunity is at the rate that we're going, it's looking that it's going to be extinct. when I was a child, the kid next door who had the chicken pox, my mom would send us over to play with them. So we would get the chicken pox and then we'd be done with it because we'd have our immunity. But it's starting to become as to where everyone gets a vaccine for everything. And so the herd immunity is starting to go away. And that's really sad because that's how God created our body to work.
Yeah, it seems as though there is a stigma connected to it nowadays. We also saw some information come out that Pfizer will sell its COVID vaccine for $110 to $130 per dose once the government is no longer paying for it. So, does this surprise you?
Absolutely not. Big Pharma's been getting fat for a while, and uh, you know, if you look at it the same way as insulin for people, Trump had brought down the price of insulin, so people with diabetics could actually afford it, and now the price is back up, and it to make it costs them next to nothing, but they charge insane amounts of money for it. And there's a lot of, hands in the pot. So it's there's a lot of people getting fat off of the price of drugs.
Tracy Slepcevic, author of Warrior Mom, thank you so much for talking to us and offering parents hope about alternative medicine. Thank you so much.
Thank you.